සන්ධ්‍යාවක් මේ වෙලාවේ අපිත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා ඉන්න සියලුම දෙනාට. කන්දක් නගින එක හරියට භාවනාවක් වගේ හිත සංසුන් කරනවා. කන්දක් තරණය කරන එක තමයි වඩාත්ම දුෂ්කර කියලා අපි නිතරම හිතුවත් ඇත්තටම අපි දන්නවා නැවත පැමිණීම තමයි දුෂ්කර වෙන්නේ කියලා. මොකද කන්දක් මුදුනට නැග්ගට පස්සේ ඒ කඳ මුදුනේ තියෙන සුන්දරත්වය, ඒ හැඟීමෙන් මිදෙන්න අපි කවුරුත් කැමති නැහැ. හැබැයි මේ වෙද්දි මුළු ලෝකෙම මුහුණ පාලා ඉන්න කොරෝනා වසංගතය නිසා අපි හැමෝම නිවසටම කොටු වෙලා වුණත් එතනට සීමා නොවි කඳු නගින්න එහෙමත් නැත්නම් ගවේෂකයන් සමග අන්තර්ජාලය ඔස්සේ නැවුම් අත්දැකීමක් බෙදා ගන්න තමයි අපි මේ සූදානම් වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් මොරටුව විශ්වවිද්‍යාලීය කඳු නගින්නන්ගේ සංගමයේ විසින් සතපුම් දහස් ගණනක ලියූ කතාවක තවත් එක් පරිච්ඡේදයක ආරම්භම තමයි මේ.
MHC Talks. මේ වැඩසටහන ගැන කිව්වොත් මේක Mora hiking club එකේ අලුත්ම වැඩක්. මේක ඇත්තටම වැඩසටහන් මාලාවක්. ඉතින් මේ වැඩසටහන් මාලාවේ පළමු අධීරය ලෙස යාපනයේ වෙරළට ඔබ්බෙන්නු ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ සුන්දරතම දූපතක් වන ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපත ගැන අත්දැකීම් බෙදා ගන්න තමයි අපි සූදානම් වෙන්නේ. මේ වෙද්දි ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපතේ සංචාරය කරපු අය වගේම ඉදිරියේදී යන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ඉන්න අයත් මෙතන ඉන්න ඇති කියලා අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා. ඉතින් ගියපු අයට වගේම යන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ඉන්න අයටත් ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපතේ රසවත් තොරතුරු බෙදා ගන්න වැඩසටහන අවසන් වනතුරුම අපිත් එක්ක රැඳී ඉන්න කියලා ආරාධනා කරන ගමන්ම මුලින්ම අපි ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපත මොන වගේද කියලා වීඩියෝ එකක් බලලා එමු. ඔගොල්ලෝ වීඩියෝ එකෙන් ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපත ගැන යම් අවබෝධයක් ගන්න ඇති කියලා හිතනවා. මේ ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපත ගැන කෙටියෙන් කිව්වොත් මේ දූපත උතුරු පළාතේ අයත් දූපත් සමූහය අතර ඉතා මනරම් භූමි භාගයක් ලෙස සලකන්නට පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම ඩෙෆ් දූපත නෙඩුන්තිව් කියලා හඳුන්වනවා. තවදුරටත් කිව්වොත් මේ යාපනය අසල පිහිටි අනෙක් දූපත් අතර විශාලත්වයෙන් තුන්වැනිය ලෙස සලකන්නට පුළුවන්. සංචාරක පක්ෂීන්ගේ නිජබිමක් වන මේ දූපත විවිධ කාලවලදී විවිධ පක්ෂීන් විශේෂ වට අයත් පක්ෂීන්ගෙන් පිරලා තියෙනවා දැක ගන්නටත් පුළුවන්. එසේම තනිතලා භූමියක් සහිත මේම දූපතේ වෙරළේ තනින් තන කොරල් පාර පවා දැක ගන්නට පුළුවන් අතර ඔබ දූපත් වලට ඇලුම් කරන කෙනෙක් නම් ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපත ඔබට සුදුසුම තැනක් කියලා කියන්නට පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම මෙරට ඇති දූපත් අතරින් වැඩිම සංචාරක ආකර්ෂණයක් දිනාගෙන ඇති දූපත ලෙස ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපත හඳුන්වන්නට පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට විශේෂ මතක් කිරීමක් කරන්න ඕනේ. ඔයාලට මේ වැඩසටහනේදී ඇතිවන ගැටලු ප්‍රශ්න chat box එක හරහා අප වෙත දැනුම් දෙන ලෙස කාර්නික ඉල්ලා සිටින අතර අපි වැඩසටහන අවසානයේදී ඒ ප්‍රශ්න සියල්ලටම පිළිතුරු දෙන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
ඉතින් මේ වගේ සුන්දර වටපිටාවකට උරුමකම් කියන ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපතේ තවත් රසබර තොරතුරු හා අත්දැකීම් බෙදා ගන්න අද අපිත් එක්ක විශේෂ පුද්ගලයෙක් එකතු වෙලා ඉන්නවා. ඒ තමයි මහා බ්‍රිතාන්‍යයේ ලෝක අප්‍රකට කිවි උද්‍යානයෙන් වැඩිදුර අධ්‍යාපනය ලබා රෙඩින් විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයෙන් පශ්චාත් උපාධිය සම්පූර්ණ කර අමාත්‍යංශ ගණනාවක උපදේශකවරයෙකු වශයෙන් කටයුතු කළ සහ ජාතික උද්භිද උද්‍යාන හිටපු අධ්‍යක්ෂ ජෙනරාල් පේරාදෙණිය සහ මොරටුව විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ කතිකාචාර්ය ආචාර්ය භාතිය සුමිත්‍රාරච්චි මහතා. සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක් කතිකාචාර්යතුමනි.
සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක් හැමෝටම. මම කෙලින්ම ස්ලයිඩ් එකට ගිහිල්ලාම ස්ටාර්ට් කරන්නම් කියලා මම කල්පනා කරේ. සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක් කුල හැම දිනාටම. ඔක්කොටම ඉස්සෙල්ලා මේ මම ඉතාමත්ම සන්තෝෂ වෙනවා මේ ඕගොල්ලෝ වගේ තරුණ දුවල පුතාලත් එක්කලා මේ වගේ ගමනක් යන්න අත්වල් බැඳ ගැනීමට අවස්ථාවක් ලැබීම සම්බන්ධයෙන්. මොකද මේවා දැක්කහම විශේෂයෙන්ම ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ මේ ට්‍රේල්ස් දැක්කහම සමහර වෙලාවට මම Facebook එකේ ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ පෝස්ටින් දැක්කහම මට මගේ ජීවිතේ 1973 ඉඳලා මම නැගපු කඳු ගණන් ඒ ගිය පාරවල් ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම නැවත නැවතත් ආවර්ජන වෙනවා. මම ඉතාමත්ම සන්තෝෂ වෙනවා. මම නිතරම ඒවට මම කමෙන්ට්ස් දානවා. ඉතාම මගේ ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම සතුට ප්‍රකාශ කරලා. ඔය වගේ ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම තරුණියන් මේ වගේ පටන් ගැනීමක් තියෙනවා නම් මේ රටට ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම විශාල දෙයක් සිද්ධ වෙයි කියන ලොකු විශ්වාසයක් මගේ ඇතුලේ තියෙනවා. ඒකයි මම හැම වෙලේම මොරටුවේ අපේ ස්ටුඩන්ට්ස්ලාත් එක්ක ඕන වෙලාවක ජොයින් වෙන්නේ කිසි ඇකිලීමක් පැකිලීමක් නැතුව. මොකද මේකේ ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම අපිට දෙන්න පුළුවන් උදව්ව තමයි ඕගොල්ලන්ට ශක්තියක් වීම. මොකද ඕගොල්ලෝ දැනටමත් මේ ඉනිෂියේටිව්ස් අරගෙන තියෙන්නේ. ඒක ජාතියට ලොකු හයියක්. ඒක නිසා මම නැවත වතාවක් ඕගොල්ලන්ට සුබ පතන්න කැමතියි. ඔබ අරන් තියෙන මේ ඉතාත්ම ධනාත්මක පියවරවල් සම්බන්ධයෙන්. ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දිවයිනට මට දැන් යන්න හම්බ වුණේ අවුරුදු 4කට ඉස්සෙල්ලා. අපි යාපනයේ පැත්තේ සංවර්ධන සැලැස්මක් 4ක් වගේ කාලෙකට ඉස්සෙල්ලා යාපනයේ යුනිවර්සිටි එක කළා. මමත් ඔගොල්ලෝ කවුරුත් දන්න මහාචාර්ය සරත් කොටගමත් එවකට වනජීවයේ අමාත්‍යව හිටිය ගාමිණී ජයවික්‍රම පෙරේරා මැතිතුමාත් එකතු වෙලා මෙහි ලොකු වැඩ ටිකක් අපි කරන්න සැලසුම් කරා. ඒවා ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම ඩොක්ටර් ගජපති කනාපති කියලා ඉවරලා එතුමත් එක්ක තමයි විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයෙන් සම්බන්ධ වුණේ. අපි ගිහිල්ලා විවිධ කටයුතු සැලසුම් කරා. ඒත් එක්කම තමයි මට ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම මේ ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපතට සංචාරය කරන්න සිද්ධ වුණේ. මොකද ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් අයිලන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධව යම්කිසි ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකක් ඩෙවලොප් කිරීමේ අත්‍යවශ්‍යතාවයේ ඒ වෙලාවේ සාකච්ඡා වුණා. ඒ ගමන අපේ ගරු අමාත්‍යතුමා ගාමිණී ජයවික්‍රම පෙරේරා මැතිතුමා කිව්වා ගිහිල්ලා පුළුවන් නම් බලලා මේකට යම්කිසි යෝජනා ටිකක් දෙන්න කියලා. අපි ඒක නිසා තමයි මේ ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් අයිලන්ඩ් වලට ගියේ. ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් අයිලන්ඩ් බැලුවහම ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් අයිලන්ඩ් එකේ තියෙන්නේ දකින්න අර කිව්වාගේ මේකට නන්දතිව් අයිලන්ඩ් කියලාත් කියනවා. ඉතින් මේකේ ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම වටේටම එහෙම් පිටිම ලස්සන අයිලන්ඩ් එකක් මම පෙන්වන්නම් පින්තූරේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ කවුරුත් දැනටමත් දැකලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් මේක ඊටාත්ම සුන්දර අයිලන්ඩ් එකක්. මේ අයිලන්ඩ් එක එහෙම් පිටින්ම කොරල් අයිලන්ඩ් එකක්. ඒකේ තියෙන්නේ ඔක්කොම කොරල් ස්ටෝන්ස්. ඒ වගේම මුහුදේ පවා මේ කොරල් ස්ටෝන්ස් හරියට තියෙනවා. ඉතින් මේකේ බොහොම පොඩි ජනගහනයක් ඉන්නේ. මේක වර්ග අඩි වර්ග කිලෝමීටර් 50ක් එහෙම නැත්නම් හෙක්ටයාර් 5000ක ඉඩක් තමයි මේ භූමියේ තියෙන්නේ. හෙක්ටර් 5000ක් කියවම ලේසි නෑ. දැන් අපි පෙරදිනේ මල්ලත් බැලුවම හෙක්ටර් 62 හෙක්ටයාර් 62යි. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ මේක ඊටාම විශාල අයිලන්ඩ් එකක් ඔය පොඩි කියලා කිව්වට ඉතින් ඒකේ ඉන්නවා 5800ක් විතර ෆැමිලිස් එහෙම නැත්නම් ජනගහනයේ ඉන්නවා. ඒක නැවතිලා ඉන්න කට්ටිය. ඒගොල්ලෝ පවුල් 1200ක් විතර කියලා තමයි අපිට ඒ සාකච්ඡාවලදී එළියට ආවේ. ඒක නිසා මේක හරීම මේ නිශ්ශබ්ද ඉතාමත්ම සුන්දර අයිලන්ඩ් එකක්. ඉතින් මේකේ තියෙන ගහකොළ දිහා බැලුවාම ඉතාමත්ම සුන්දරයි. හරීම ආවේනික වූ දේවල් තියෙන්නේ. ඒ වෙජිටේෂන් ටයිප් එක ඒ අයිලන්ඩ් එකට ඉතාමත්ම සනීප විදිහේ තියෙන්නේ. ඒ ස්පීෂීස් නම් එන්ඩෙමික් ටු දිස් අයිලන්ඩ් කියලා එහෙම එකක් නැහැ. ඒ තියෙන මේ ගහකොළ අත් වශයෙන්ම යාපනයේ අනිත් තැන්වල තව තැන්වල තියෙනවා. නමුත් අපි ඒවා දිහත් හිමීට බලමු. එතකොට මේකේ කෙලින්ම බලපු ගමන් පේන්නේ අපිට මේ පැල්මයිරා පාම්ස්, ඒ වගේම dry shrubs and grasses, ඒ වගේම මේ අපිට ගෙවල් තියෙනවා. ඒ ගෙවල් අවට කොරල් තිබුණත් ඒගොල්ලෝ යම් දේවල් හිටවගෙන තියෙනවා. දැන් කෙසෙල් වගාවක් තියෙනවා. ඒ ගස් ලැබුව වගාවක් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ එළවලු යනාදියත් ඒගොල්ලෝ මෙතන වවාගෙනද යනවා. ඒක නිසා මේ අපිට මේ යම් කිසි දෙයක් අපිට මේකෙන් බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතකොට මේක අත් වශයෙන්ම දිහා බැලුවාම ඊටාම ඈත අතීතයේ ඉඳලම මනුෂ්‍ය වාසයක් තිබිච්ච තැනක්. ඒක දිගටම ලංකාවට අහිතිව තිබිච්ච අයිලන්ඩ් එකක්. ඒකේ චෝලා රාජ්‍ය කාලයේ හදාපු දේවල් තියෙනවා. ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම වෙහෙරක් තියෙනවා. ඒක තමයි චෝලා ඩිනාස්ටි එකේ අපිට අද තියෙන රෙම්නන්ට් එකක් හැටියට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් මේක මම හිතන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ හැමදාම කඳු නැගපු එක ඉතාමත්ම ප්‍රශංසනීයයි. නමුත් මේ වගේ අයිලන්ඩ්ස් උත් ගිහිල්ලා එක්ස්ප්ලෝර් කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් මං හිතන්නේ ඉතාමත්ම වටිනවා. The water is slightly brackish and is taken from shallow wells. මේක තියෙන හොඳ වතුර තියෙන ලින්ක් ටිකක් තියෙනවා. right? ඒ වගේම මේකට ආවේනික පෝනීස්ලා ටිකක් ඉන්නවා. ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම they are called feral horses or delta ponies කියලා කියන්නේ. මම ඒකෙත් පින්තූර ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැකලා තියෙනවා. දැනට මම දැක්ක ට්‍රේලර්ස් වල ඔයගොල්ලෝ දාලා තියෙනවා. ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් අවුරුදු 600ක් විතර පරණයි කියලා තමයි හිතන්නේ. ඒක නිසා මේ අයිලන්ඩ් එක හරීම යුනික්. මොකද ඒ සත්තු වෙන තැන් වලට ගෙනිච්චාට හරි ගියේ නෑ. ඊට පස්සේ මේකේ තව එක දත්තයක් තමයි this island was named after Dutch city of Delft by somebody that the name goes and he named 8 most important islands after Dutch cities. ඔය තියෙන ඒ යාපනයේ යවට තියෙන cities ගොඩක් Dutch cities වල නමින් තමයි මෙයා කරේ. එතකොට some features within the island is around 50 square kilometers. That's about 5,000 hectares. It records about 8 kilometers at the longest length and about 6 kilometers at its widest place. The Delft is a coral island, therefore, instead of rocks, there are old corals all over the island in the soil. They use these corals as building materials in their constructions. Thus, it makes the island very, very special. The island possesses a special and an endemic breed of ponies that I just mentioned to you. There are also a remarkable baobab tree, right? Adansonia digitata in island, introduced by Arab traders around the 7th century. This one tree is there, but actually there are many other Adansonia digitata trees in Jaffna and also in many other places that are Mana we have the famous Adansonia digitata or the baobab tree in Mana. And these are the other things that we would like to see in this island. So this is Jaffna Peninsula. And of course, as you can see, this is the Jaffna city, and all these islands are there. Most of you are familiar with the Nainatiu or Nagadeepa, and this is the Delft island. And it takes about an hour boat ride by about an hour, right? So this is the structure of this particular island, and most of you, I am sure some of you must have been to this island, but for those who have not, this is a wonderful hike for you all to make, because you can take a train journey to Jaffna, and from there, I'm sure there must be batchmates from Jaffna, and they can also come and help you all. There are all kinds of very interesting places to visit, and there is also somewhere here, there is a circuit bungalow owned by the divisional secretary, and there's a big divisional secretary office in here. So it's a large piece of land, although it looks a small island. 5,000 hectares is a large land. So these are some of the kind of areas where you will see something called the growing stone. I'll show you that. And these are first time I saw them about 4 years ago. And there's a large banyan tree which have not photographed. I don't have the photograph actually. I lost some of the photographs that I took. I lost a particular folder, but I managed to pick up some of the pictures. Here, there's another Queen's Tower, which is also very interesting for you all to see. This is the Dutch horse stables. There is in one part of the island, there is this area. There are all, don't forget, there are a lot of traveling in here, a lot of three-wheelers, few vehicles, couple of buses. So there are 3 petrol stations in this island, right? There's also a baobab tree just here. So let's see some of the other things that we should know. The mysteries of Delft Island, the adventure Delft Island begins at Karikadwan jetty in Pundukuti Island, Jaffna. After an hour's ride by boat, one arrives at the mysterious island. Explore this, of course, has some very interesting things. So I'll share with you some of the things that I have seen. These things I just mentioned before, and once you go there, it becomes really a wonderful place. This is where you arrive. It's all managed by the Navy. So Navy headquarters are there. There are lots of hotels. You can see lots of vehicles are here. And that's why I said there are 3 petrol stations within this island. And all these, you can hire these vehicles for a day. A three-wheeler costs about 2,500. These kind of vehicles, if you take a load and go, it will cost you a little more. I have not asked for it because we took a different kind of a transport when we went there. So Navy is always there, and the people are very, very friendly. So that's the kind of place. Again, you have lots of local visitors as well as foreigners. It's I must tell you, it's pretty hot, and therefore you all have to be very, very careful about the heat and be prepared for such a visit. You can also camp in this place. In fact, it is a nice, there are lots of nice beaches, and if you like to camp, you can do that as well. But of course, you have to be very, very careful. There is the sand viper or the valley polonga, which is extremely poisonous and dangerous. So one has to be careful of such animals as well. Don't forget there is also a post office in Delft, and also I couldn't get the picture. I lost these pictures of the police stations and things there. There's a big police station. They're very helpful people, and you can do practically. There's also a bank, Bank of Ceylon. There's a branch of Bank of Ceylon. One thing, don't go there with your ATM card. You will not be able to withdraw any money because ATM, it doesn't have an ATM. So you have to carry some cash and go when you go to Delft Island. As I told you, these are all the walls of this island. Wherever you go, all the walls are built with these corals, right, and limestone, and they're very well pasted, right, and they're pretty strong. They are very, I mean, you can see everywhere you go, you have these coral uh, not only the walls, but all the buildings are also made of coral stones. This is the brand new uh, divisional secretary office, but I don't know how they are going to find people to fill this such a large building. But it's a kind of place with future in mind. They also have built another circuit bungalow. So the students, if you are keen to go and camp there, you can either camp, if you like to do a visit to this place and stay overnight, please stay overnight. It's the most beautiful island. We just didn't have time to do that. I was really hoping that we could stay, but we couldn't because of the time constraint. And that camping would be ideal. And also you can get this if you can get access to this circuit bungalow, you'll have a very comfortable stay. There is a limited quantity of fresh water, but if you want to go up there, please carry your clean water, bottled water, at least 4 liters per person per day, because you seem to need a lot of water because you sweat a lot. And this is a bit of a this is one of those small Indian lorries that we used on our trip. And I just took a picture of this because in case I thought if my friends like to visit, I got this telephone number and you could book this vehicle in advance for you to travel inside, because inside there are lots of roads, and you have to use one of the either a three-wheeler or a bus or one of these small lorries. So one of the first things that you see as you go in is this what is called a pigeon cote, right? This is a pigeon nest or a cage where they used to rear these pigeons, and these pigeons, the Dutch used them, and sorry, the Dutch used them, and these pigeons, the Dutch used these pigeons to send messages, right? And so they were brought back, they came back, and supposed to have been very effective at that time. Uh, Almost next to this court is the court complex, right? So this is the court complex of the Dutch at that time, and this was also very everything is constructed with these coral stones and lime plastering. They're pretty strong, and nothing has happened over the last 600 years. Of course, there are remnants, but there are a lot of renovation activities are going on. This is the old temple, the stupa called the Cholan ruins, and you can see that it's called Vediyarasan Fort, the Delft heritage. This is pre-Dutch period, because they discovered Dravidian and Sri Lankan art, and South Indian coins found from this temple site proved that the temple predates the Dutch period. So you have to go to these places and spend you have to find at least 2 days to spend there, because some of these things are the most interesting in a small island, and how they have really had good civilization, people were living there, and so on and so forth. So when you sort of, so this is the other thing. Another unique thing is the growing rock. It is also the Singhali name is Dalulana Gala. It's a growing rock, a stone said to grow naturally. It is often wrapped in a shining cloth and is treated as sacred as it takes the form of a cobra. It could be an igneous rock or a limestone or even a coral. Maybe it has associated with tectonic movements at the base. Now, this about 200 years ago, it has been only about 1.5 feet. Now it's about 3 feet in height. It's a big one. It's very interesting to see this particular thing. So if you go there, you have to make sure to go and have a look at these things. At another place, you have this Queen's Tower. Now, Queen's Tower, I will show you where it is. It is at the southern part of the island. This they set fire to firewood. They burn firewood here, down in here, and right on top, you could see that the chimney would light up the ash, and the ash would have kind of a light. It's kind of bright, so the ships from the distance could see where these islands are, and they became landmarks. And this Queen's Tower was a landmark built by the Dutch at that time. You can see all these rocks are really big corals. They have taken them out, and they use them quite effectively everywhere. So the Queen's Tower is perhaps one of the most fascinating remnants left behind by the Dutch. Though simple in architecture, it is possibly one of the most charming lighthouses in the island. A fire is lit at the bottom of the tower. The light carries upwards through the tunnel and becomes a beacon for ships on dark and stormy nights. So that's a little bit about this Queen's Tower, something that you should go and see. Here is the Dutch fort. This is sort of very interesting. Actually, you can climb on top of this. Um, Unfortunately, as I told you, I lost a few pictures. They were all in another folder. One way or another, I seem to have lost one entire folder. But still, there are a lot of these pictures are there. But if you go to the internet, you can find a lot of these pictures, and you can see they're all made out of uh, coral stones and lime, coral stones and lime, and they have stood for over 600 years, and you can see how strong they are. This is to show that the island was a fortress by the Dutch as well. So traditionally attributed to the Kariyar king or Mikaman, the fort was probably fortified and built by the Portuguese later on. So this must have been a fort of this particular king of this particular island long before the Dutch came in. Later it was taken over by the Dutch, who built a barrack nearby, right? The island was known to the Portuguese as Ilha das Vacas, right? Which means island of the cows, was renamed by the Dutch as the Delft Island. So very interesting. I mean, so few things are very interesting. The most important thing, of course, are here is a very interesting thing. This is called the Giant's Foot, which is in one of the. I'll show you if I can show you the island. I'll show you where they are. It is engraved on the stone surface. It is said to have been left by a man who must have been about 13 meters tall. You never have human beings who have been 13 meters tall. This must have got enlarged due to weathering, over a period of time. A similar footprint on the island of Nagadipa, is attributed to the second of the Lord Buddha's three legendary visits to Sri Lanka. There's a similar thing at Nagadipa as well. Hindu population of Delft credits Hanuman with leaving the footprints in the Serapidi. The monkey-faced Hanuman was the helper of Rama and came to Sri Lanka several times, flying through the air. You know that Hanuman is, there are a lot of stories about the Ramayana. So this is also, it's a thing that everybody goes and sees. It's worth going and seeing when you go there. So there's a list of, there are about 8 or 9 places there where you should visit and see. This, of course, is really a Dutch horse stables. So these horses were brought by the Dutch, and these are pillars on which the horses must have been tied. There must have been roof, because that is predicted by this particular wall. So this was really the stables for these horses. So these horses probably were domesticated at that time. But of course, right now, these horses are absolutely wild. I'll show you some interesting things. Wild horses in Delft Island, Sri Lanka, they're called Delft ponies. The horses were brought to this island by the Dutch around 1660. There are still around 500 or 600 horses, because one man said there are about 2,000. I really don't know whether it is correct. In this small island, around 50 square kilometers. Steps are being taken to protect them in the recent years. Dutch are supposed to have brought these horses to 8 islands around Jaffna. It is only Delft that sustain a population of these horses. There are ruins of stables in the island built by the Dutch for these horses. The inbreeding seemed to have resulted in a subspecies at present. This particular one is now considered as a subspecies of horses. They have been breeding and inbreeding over a period of 600 years. So it's probably little away from the normal horses and the genetic components of those animals. What was interesting was during our visit, we found these horses almost going into the sea, right? And of course, according to Dr. Galapathy, he says some of these horses can even drink the seawater. And what was interesting was they were at that time carrying on with a particular survey whether the dengue larvae were breeding on these brackish waters. So these are the things that were going on at that time. I really don't know what the results were, but these horses can be all over. When you go there, you will see them in many places. The wild horses in Delft venture into the sea beaches from time to time. Right now, these flat area where whenever you go, you can see them. They are very sort of scraggy people. You see, Arima kettu, these animals don't have much good food. As a result, you have these horses and these flat lands that are there. They're absolutely free, but they're very shy. But one of the driver of the vehicle who drove us around, he said that we should not get near them because sometimes if they get scared, they can attack you. Now, if they attack you, he says it can be dangerous. In fact, in this one of these pictures, this is one of the dead horses, a carcass of a dead horse. So they're also there. So that's why I took this particular picture. My um, phone was not a very good phone, so the pictures were not clear enough. So these things can happen in an island like that. So these are the general landscapes of this island. The the Cory Farm, the teleport farm uh, is there, and these are the fruits of the teleport farm coming from the female trees. And again, in the landscape, we find these animals. I saw in your trailer, you'll have got a very beautiful trailer of these horses running. In fact, when you go to the web, you'll see um, there's a YouTube channel called Trip Piso. You know, they have done a nice video on their visits to this island. I'm sure when you visit, you can make a better video and upload it to the website. It's a wonderful. It's one of your heritages. So please remember to explore these places because this really is your heritage, right? One of the most interesting things that struck me was this particular tree, the green leaf tree, is a mahogany. Now, this mahogany is a particular species called Sweetina microphylla. Microphylla means small leaved. Now, if you remember Peradeniya Botanical Gardens, at the entrance itself, there's a little island, a triangular island. In the center of this triangular island is the only other species of mahogany, the Sweetina microphylla, that you can see. But when you go to this Delft Island, it is the most common mahogany. It breeds, it produces seedlings, and it just grows. And these are, you can see the corals on the ground, and these soils are very high in calcium contents. One of the other most interesting things is, of course, is Phoenix pusilla. Phoenix pusilla is one of the dry zone wild dates, and this is the picture that I took. In fact, I had a picture with ripe fruits which are black, and you can eat them. They're pretty sweet, you see. And these are things that you have to see. Now, these kind of areas, you've got to be a little watchful of the snakes, right? But I'm sure you are all hikers, so they are all pretty careful with the wildlife there. Of course, as you can see, Lantana has gone into these islands also, but the horses seem to be, this is a kind of Acaranthus uh, common in this right. Uh, one of the aloe veras that is endemic to this Delft Island is a red aloe vera. You see, in fact, I tasted the sap in here, very salty, right? It's reddish in color. The anthocyanins are developed, right? there were no green ones at all. So when you go there, I mean, remember to have a look at some of these aloe veras, which is very characteristic of the Delft Islands. I haven't seen it. Of course, spinifex grass, you can see this in almost all the sand dunes. You can see that these are the fruits, right? They go on, they keep on rolling for the wind and go and get themselves established, and they finally these these pins, the bristles rot, and then the center there is the seed, and it'll start germinating. So that's another one. So here's another very characteristic tree of the Delft Island called Gyrocarpus americanus. This grows all over Sri Lanka. In fact, I did a lot of research on this tree called Gyrocarpus americanus. You find this on all the calcareous soils, even on somewhere after Naula, you find a huge population of these trees, because in that area of Matale district, the soils are very high in calcium concentrations. A lot of rocks are there. This what you call hunugal is very common in that area. So therefore, this is a very common area. You can see in the next slide, you have groves of these particular Gyrocarpus trees. They are also called dialabu. But interesting is the fruit is like the horror fruit. It has two wings and it hangs down, and it keeps spreading through the wind. So that's another very interesting tree that you will find in these islands. You can see it's full of calcium, very barren kind of soil. This, of course, is your famous baobab tree, right? And it's called Adansonia digitata. It is also called a tree. When the god got angry, he pulled the tree out and planted it upside down, it says. very, very interesting story, because the top looks like the roots and the bottom has very wide spreading roots. I'll show you actually in the wild in Africa how these things are found. But before that, I'll show you a few slides of this particular tree. In fact, this particular tree is a huge tree. That's another friend of ours from England. He and his wife joined us on this tour, and you can see this cavity is very famous. Most of the trees would have such cavities, and the sap of this tree is supposed to be very nutritious. Now, and also there are two trees of Adansonia digitata in Peradenic Gardens. They are not as wide as these, but of course they are typical specimens that are there. So I'll show you the flowers of this particular tree as well. So that's our little trip. This is the Navy headquarters, which is a big facility that is coming up. And this, of course, is a statue of Reverend Father, who, of course, this was, as you can see, during Dutch periods and subsequent British periods, there are lots of churches that have come up, but of course, up to date, we don't have any churches standing at the moment. It's mostly covils. This is the baobab tree in nature. You can see in South Africa, they are massive trees, you see. You can Google it and see. And they house a lot of water. So there's a lot of sap in these. The sap is supposed to be very nutritious. That's the kind of flower it comes up. And the fruits, of course, the trees in Peradenic Gardens also produce fruits, but they were much longer than this. And the seeds are supposed to be very, very nutritious. Now, digitata means the leaf is like the palm, like digitate, like the fingers. You can see this particular leaf shows such characters. And this baobab tree is a remnant of the proof of the Arab traders who came to Sri Lanka through Manna and into Manna Islands, and then to Jaffna and so on. Good old days, there were two trees at the residence of the government agent. I really don't know whether they are still there, but that was the time when I was doing my field work and research in the 1973, 74, 75 time. Of course, we didn't have cameras at that time in this country, so we couldn't really make any photographs. So this is the final uh, point of departure from the island. That's what I wanted to really share with you all. So the visit to Delft Island would be a very timely need, since you all have been climbing all this time. You can see that right around this Adansonia digitata, the parapet wall right around this particular site is also made out of coral stones, right? These are little mahogany trees that are around, just planted. So these are the things that I wanted to share with you all. And what I will do is I will stop uh, at this point and get you all to ask any questions that will be very that will be more interesting and pertinent to visit by all of you. I think when the weather, when the conditions come back, please make a visit to Jaffna. You can take an air-conditioned train to Jaffna now, and get your friends to organize a few visits in Jaffna. There are so many places. You need a couple of days in Jaffna. You have Nagadeepa to go to, or Nainativ. Then you have so many other places to visit, Point Pedro, right? And then Delft should be another visit. It takes about an hour by boat to go to the Delft Islands. So shall I now stop here and expect you all to ask any questions, because that will be more pertinent, as most of you will be eager to find out um, more about this island, particularly those who have been lovers of climbing, and those among you all, maybe some more who might say, well, why don't we do a slightly different kind of flat area hike. So here is something, but camping would be ideal thing for you all, and I'm sure most of you will enjoy such a visit. Okay, off to the coordinators. Thank you. Dishani?
බොහොමත්ම ස්තුතියි කතිකාචාර්යතුමනි ඔබේ දැනුම අපත් සමග බෙදාගත්තට. මං හිතන්නේ ඔයාලා දැන් ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපත ගැන ගොඩක් විස්තර දැනගත්තා. ඒ වගේම ඔයාලට ඇති තව දැනගන්න තොරතුරු වගේම අපි මේ කතා කරපු දේවල් ගැන යම් යම් ගැටලුත් පැන නැගලා ඇති. ඉතින් ඒ සඳහා අවස්ථාව තමයි මේ.
Feel free to ask any question.
So how does tourism has affect the biodiversity in the island?
Quite frankly, the tourism per se is the mostly Delft Island is visited by the public as day visits. Very few go and stay there. That is why, in fact, there is a particular YouTube on the web about Delft Islands called they are called Trip Pisso or something. They are gone and camped. So that will be very good for you all to watch, because I know most of you love to camp. So the actually there's hardly any damage to anything in this island, and people are extremely friendly. There are a couple of shops there. They are very friendly, and quite a number of people can speak in Sinhalese, and it will be very interesting for you young people to go there and enjoy. And also take your swimsuits, because sea is beautiful. You'd love to have a sea bath there.
We have another question. Sir, is Delft has come common plants we can see inside the country, or is Delft has come unique kind of flora system with its climate?
No, I think the flora of Delft Island is common to all the coastal area plants of this island, right, of Sri Lanka. So there's except that mahogany, the small-leaved mahogany that I saw, others are quite common, like Gansuriya, then Belipatta. All those plants are there, which most of you are already familiar.
සර් මේ දවස්වල තියෙන COVID-19 පැන්ඩමික් සිටුේෂන් එක කොහොමද ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් වලට බලපාලා තියෙන්නේ? සහ ටුවරිසම් ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එකට කොහොමද ඒක බලපාලා තියෙන්නේ?
I think Delft Island probably is very well isolated from COVID. Because one thing, most people are not going there, and only the Navy boats are traveling. The island has one boat, the villagers, it's the boat of the villagers, and you can if it is there, it goes into the island by about 8 o'clock in the morning or 7:30, and 80 rupees a ticket. If there's enough space, they'll take all of you. Otherwise, if you want to hire a specific boat, it's about 19,000 rupees for a day. It will take you there and bring you back within a day. But to most of you, my recommendation is such a beautiful island. Enjoy the life and the freedom there. You see, try and say. I'm sure most of you have uh, family members or relatives from the Navy. Get their help. You can get their boats. You can get a lot of help from them. There is a circuit bungalow from the divisional secretary, and also Navy will also help if you all like to go and camp there.
So what are the income methods of
Sir,
people in
ප්‍රශ්නයක්
Delft?
තියෙනවා.
Sorry,
What
Viral.
are the income methods of people in Delft?
Uh, well, I think there's no major income. They are sort of sustaining their livelihood, and there are a lot of cattle there, so there are a little bit of cow milk, but it's not really collected massively. They could have collected that and sold to Jaffna. I don't think that is happening because trading is extremely low. Little bit of coconuts are there. I don't think that they are selling anything. They are probably all that is sustainable kind of agriculture. A lot of bananas are there. Again, I'm sure 5,800 people must be eating those. Very few vegetables. There's a lot of fishing around, so they do that. I know a couple of the islands have fishing areas. I know one near Mana. When we went to that island, the island Navy was supporting all the fishermen. They can't stay there. The Navy will bring them every day and take them back. Now, similarly, I'm sure this Delft Island must be having that kind of a economy going. Little bit of dry fish, but very very low income for the people. Tourism, I think the previous plan was to increase on tourism, because in order to do that, I think they had to get fresh water organized. That's where they hit the problem. Yeah, okay.
Sir, තව ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. How about the ethnic groups and languages in Delft කියලා?
I think it's mostly just one simple Tamil. Only about 5,000 people. I don't think there are. I think there are few Muslims also who speak Tamil. There are no other ethnic. There are. I don't think there are any Sinhalese people there, except the Navy, police, and the forces. Others are all Tamils and Muslims.
තව ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. How does the biodiversity and climate has affected the population growth and lifestyles of people in Delft කියලා?
Actually, this is a main problem, because one of the problems the island is having is the younger generations. There is a big school there in the island, but once they come up to a particular level, they come to the mainland Jaffna to do their further studies and find employment there, and they stay back in Jaffna mainland. Of course, they go back to Delft, but they keep on doing a lot of work in Jaffna. Other than that, biodiversity wise, I don't think it has much of an impact, because one of the things they do is the fencing. I showed you the coral roof, coral fencing. They also use the the palm kind of pit for fencing, you see, but those things don't affect any of the biodiversities per se. Other things they don't touch for eating and things like that. They cultivate their own vegetables and they eat. So I think very thin people, so it shows that they are not very well nourished.
ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්නය, sir, how does this sandy soil profile works for big trees in the island? Thickness and components of the soil.
Yeah, actually, it is. It's really interesting soil because although it is sandy towards the coastal areas, inland there is a lot of fine particles and calcium. So there is also mineral. These are igneous rocks at the bottom, and they don't support very tall vegetation. The general height of these trees are about 20 feet the maximum, except the palms, which can grow up to better heights. Other than that, the vegetation is not very tall and is not supported heavily because the total mineral content that is required for lush growth of trees is not there. So mostly calcareous loving plants are there.
um ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්නය so what about the water issue in Delft Island?
Water is, in fact, there is a particular area where there are a couple of wells. So they were trying to cultivate this. In fact, one of the people I know that Delma is involved in this conservation of horses, and also some philanthropists were interested in developing this water supply to the island, with mainly with the tourism in mind. You see, local people manage little bit of water that they can get from the wells that are around. So the sustaining this 5,800 population is probably corresponding to the water availability as well. You see, so there are these things. So
Okay,
usage
sir.
of water is extremely you have to do it very carefully. That's why I told you you have to carry at least 5 liters of water per person per day if you go on camping.
Okay, sir. ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්නය so what are the ongoing research projects based on the biodiversity in Delft?
No, I think Jaffna University was trying to set up some enlisting of plants. I haven't seen any enlisted plants thereafter either. We were also very keen. I was very keen at that time. I was a freelance consultant to the Ministry of Wildlife. So we were very keen that the Botanical Gardens and the University of Jaffna get involved in that particular project on enlisting of enumeration of plants of the island. Because there are a couple of things. Professor Kotagama was interested on fauna, but unfortunately the minister lost the ministry. And thereafter, the ministers who took over after him didn't follow up on those activities. So therefore, I think they remain still untouched.
Okay, sir.
Mm,
ප්‍රශ්න නම්
hello.
ඉවරයි වගේ. ඔයගලන්ට තව ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් කියන්න පුළුවන්.
Hello. එහෙනම්
ඔව් එහෙනම්.
සර් මේ මම හිතන්නේ මෙතන ඉන්න ගොඩක් අයට ඇති කියලා මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ මේ මට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක්. අපි සර් දැන් ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් වලට බීච් කැම්පින් යනවා නම් අපි පර්මිෂන් ගන්න ඕනේ තැනක් ඔයාලට තියනවද? ඒ කියන්නේ මේකෙන් හරි එහෙම ගන්න ඕනේද? නැත්නම් අපිට
I think yeah, you have to first write to the police, the inspector, probably the DIG or the head of the police station in Delft Island, and also to the divisional secretary. And whenever you go, you have to register with the Delft Island. That these are the two most important things. Daily visitors don't have to worry about it, but if you are staying overnight, you have to register with the police station.
thank you sir.
Hello.
I'm sure most of you will really enjoy a trip to this particular place, cooking in the beach and sleeping on the beach and having a bath early morning in this absolute crystal clear water.
Yes.
Hello, sir. This is regarding that red color aloe vera.
Yeah.
So අපිට ඒක වෙන තැන්වල කොහේ හරි දකින්න තියනවද කොහොමද?
No, Kumash, I haven't seen it anywhere else. It was very common in the Delft Island and very salty. The sap is very salty. We want to bring some plants to Peradini Gardens, but it didn't materialize.
So ඒකේ මොන හරි මේ special medicinal value එකක් හරි එහෙම මොන හරි තියෙනවා කියලා.
This is what we wanted to check actually. Unfortunately, my short day, because we were thinking that we would make more regular visits to this place and had a lot of ideas and thinking, we were thinking of doing a lot of things. But finally, nothing came about because Honorable Gamini Jayavikrampera lost that Ministry of Wildlife. As a result, the entire that vision of all these islands went off the track. It's very unfortunate.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
මම හිතන්නේ දැන් අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න හරි ඉවරයි. බොහොමත්ම ස්තුතියි කතිකාචාර්යතුමනි අපේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට පිළිතුරු ලබා දුන්නට. ඉතින් තියෙන කාල වේලාවත් සීමා සහිත නිසා අපි ඊළඟට යමු Q&A session එක මෙතනින් නවත්වමු.
Right. Okay.
මං හිතනවා ඩෙෆ් ගැන ඔයගොල්ලෝ ලොකු දෙයක් දැනගත්ත කියලා අද වැඩසටහනින්. ඉතින් කාල වේලාවත් අවසන් වෙගෙන යන නිසා මම ඊළඟට අපේ මෝර හයිකින් ක්ලබ් එකේ ඇසිස්ටන්ට් සෙක්‍රටරි දිෂාන් දිල්රුවන්ට අද වැඩසටහනේ ස්තුති කතාව පවත්වන්න ආරාධනා කරනවා.
සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක් වේවා හැමෝටම. මේ අවස්ථාවට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්න හැම දෙනාගේම අවසරයි. මෝර හයිකින් ක්ලබ් අපේ අලුත්ම පරිච්ඡේදය වන MHC Talks වැඩසටහන් මාලාවේ පළවෙනි වැඩසටහන තමයි මේ ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් දූපත ගැන රසබර කතා බහ. ඉතින් දැන් අපි ඒකේ අවසානයේ තමයි ඇවිල්ලා. ඇතරම් පුද්ගලිකව මාත් ගොඩක් කැමැත්තෙන් ආසාවෙන් යන්න හිටපු තැනක් තමයි ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් කියන්නේ. ඉතින් මේ කතා බහෙන් පස්සේ ගොඩක් දේවල් දැනගත්තා. සර් බොහොම ස්තුතියි. ඉතින් ප්‍රථමයෙන්ම අපගේ ආරාධනය පිළි අරගෙන මේ අවස්ථාවට සහභාගී වූ ආචාර්ය භාතිය සුමිත්‍රාරච්චි කතිකාචාර්යතුමන්ට මම බෙහෙවින් ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. ඔබතුමාගේ අත්දැකීම් ඉතාමත් හරවත් ලෙස අපි සමග බෙදාගත්තට. ඇත්තටම සර්ගේ අත්දැකීම් සර් ගොඩක් රසවත් ලෙස අපිත් එක්ක බෙදාගත්තා. ඒකින්ද මම හිතනවා මේ සෙෂන් එකට ආපු ගොඩක් කට්ටිය ඉතාමත් ආසාවෙන් කුතුහලයෙන් උනන්දුවෙන් ඇති ඩෙල්ෆ්ට් ඇත්තටම දැක ගන්න. ඊළඟට මෝර හයිකින් ක්ලබ් අපේ හැම වැඩකදීම හැම කටයුත්තකදීම අපිත් එක්ක සහයෝගයෙන් ඉන්න නිවැරදි මඟ පෙන්වීමක් ලබා දෙන අපේ ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ භාණ්ඩාගාරික ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ කතිකාචාර්ය සුරංග ජයසේන සර්ටත් මම මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ස්තුති පුද කරනවා. ඒ වගේමයි මේ වැඩසටහන මෙලෙස සාර්ථක කර ගැනීමට තිර පිටිපසින් ගොඩක් කට්ටිය උදව් කරා. අපේ අයියලා අක්කලාගේ මඟ පෙන්වීම සහ උපදෙස් වගේම මේ කටයුත්ත සාර්ථක කරගන්න කැප වුණු මෝර හයිකින් ක්ලබ් අපේ සියලුම සහෝදර සහෝදරියන්ට මම මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. ඒ වගේමයි විශේෂයෙන් මතක් කරන්න ඕන මේ වගේ වැඩසටහනක් සාර්ථක වෙන්නේ නැහැ හොඳ ඔඩියන්ස් එකක් නැතුව. ඉතින් මේ අවස්ථාවට සහභාගී වෙලා ඉන්න ඔයාලා හැමෝටම මෝර හයිකින් ක්ලබ් එක වෙනුවෙන් මම ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. ඉතින් පළවෙනි පරිච්ඡේදය Tale of the Delft Island මෙතනින් ඉවර වුණාට MHC Talks වැඩසටහන් මාලාව යටතේ තවත් මේ වගේම ඉතාමත් රසවත් අලුත් අත්දැකීම් ඔබ වෙත ගෙන එන්න අපි සූදානම්. ඉතින් රැඳී සිටින්න මෝර හයිකින් අපිත් එක්කම ඔබ සියලු දෙනාටම බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
Right.
බොහොමත්ම ස්තුතියි.
Right. Thank you.
හරි
Right.
සර්. බොහොමත්ම ස්තුතියි කිෂාන්. ඒ වගේම තව මතක් කරන්න ඕනේ ඔයාලගේ ෆීඩ්බැක් අපිට ගොඩක් වැදගත් වෙනවා. ඉතින් මේ වැඩසටහන ගැන ඔයාලගේ තියෙන අදහස් ඔයාලට පුළුවන් වැඩසටහන අවසානයේදී අපිට ලබා දෙන්න. ඒ වගේම ඉදිරියට තියෙන වැඩසටහන් වලට ඔයාලගේ තියෙන සජෙෂන්ස් තියෙනවා නම් ඒවත් ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන් වැඩසටහන අවසානයේදී. ඉතින් අපේ මේ වැඩසටහනේ අවසානයේට තමයි දැන් ළඟා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම විශේෂයෙන් මතක් කරන්න ඕනේ මේ වෙද්දි කොරෝනා වසංගතේ රට පුරාම පැතිරිලා. ඒ නිසා හැමෝම නිවෙස්වලට වෙලා පරිස්සමින් ඉන්න කියලා මතක් කරනවා. ඒ වගේම MHC Talks වැඩසටහන් මාලාව සමග දිගටම රැඳී ඉන්න. මේ වගේ තවත් ලස්සන වැඩසටහනකින් නැවතත් හමු වීමේ බලාපොරොත්තුවෙන් අදට මෙම වැඩසටහන මෙතකින් නිමවට පත් කරනවා. සුබ දවසක්.
Thank you, everybody. Very interesting. Seeing all of you young people, energetic. Okay. Best of luck to all of you. Thanks. Bye.